on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Braves a big winner. Drop a couple of touchdowns on the Pirates earlier today. Sweep the Pirates and are now a game and a half behind the Mets, who are off today. We got a lot to get to. Kyle Glazer covers major leagues, specifically for Baseball America. He will join us. Look ahead to the playoffs. Can this Braves team overtake the New York Mets? He will join us top of the final hour of the show. And Kelly Quinlan, Jackets Online, will join us to look at Georgia Tech. They open up against Clemson. And obviously, in terms of programs in this state, a coach big time on the hot seat. You have a new coach in Statesboro. In terms of college football, new coach in Valdosta. You're in good shape there at Mercer. Georgia State's obviously doing tremendous things. Kirby Smart just won the national championship. In the state of Georgia, you're talking hot seat. It's Jeff Collins right now, and we'll talk about that with Kelly Quinlan coming up in just a little bit.
Well, and you open up with Clemson. You have a very difficult schedule overall. I believe you play Ole Miss and UCF and, oh, by the way, Georgia out of conference as well at the end of the year. So you open the season with Clemson, and then you finish the season, if you don't make a bowl game, with Georgia, but the regular season. So a really tough schedule, but opportunities. When you have tough challenges on your schedule, you have opportunities as well. But some positive reviews from Georgia Tech fall camp.
Certainly. So we'll get to that coming up on the show. We'll have an important announcement coming up a little bit later this hour as well. We're going to get caught up on the clock here coming out of the Braves after a big win over the Pirates. We'll talk about it. Man, a lot happening in that game. We'll get to it next here. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Braves sweep the Pirates, sweep the Buccos, get a day off. They will move on and take on the St. Louis Cardinals coming up this weekend. Obviously, the Braves a game and a half behind the Mets right now and feeling pretty good about what they're doing. I mean, and you want to talk about the bitterness tweets. Go read the sad, whining, dripping wet with crying tears of Mets fans right now. Like, why did the Braves get to play the easy teams? You just played the Yankees, who've been like the worst team the last month. What are you talking about? Mets fans, your bitterness only fuels me.
The Rockies?
Yeah, who are terrible. I mean, come on. Get out of here with that. But Max Fried the last night really pitched well. Kyle Wright tied for the majors lead with 16 wins, BJ. If we were told you back in back in late February, early March, hey, man, Kyle Wright's going to make the rotation. Okay, maybe the Braves are desperate. They're looking for a fifth guy. No, not only is he going to make the rotation, he's going to have 16 wins in August. That's going to be tied for the most in the majors. Oh, you're kidding me. I mean, dude has pitched amazing, and his ERA today slides under 3 at 2.99.
And yeah, you're talking about a guy, like you said, where from the outside looking in, the expectations were, okay, maybe he's the 4th starter, maybe he's the 5th starter. Obviously, it's been a disappointing season for Ian Anderson, but it has been a great year, not only for Kyle Wright in the context of his career, but in the context of Braves pitchers. I mean, in recent history, you're talking about 16 wins. You're talking about an ERA now in the 2s. And we were talking about this earlier in the show. I believe the last Braves pitcher with 20 wins, and Kevin, Ben, I was seeing if you guys could guess. And, you know, you think about some of the top pitchers, the highest paid pitchers, you have to actually go back a ways. And there's no guarantee that Kyle Wright gets 4 more wins, but I think he's within potential distance. It's 16 wins right now. And you're probably going to get what? Assuming nobody's hurt or he doesn't get hurt, what, 5 or 6 more starts at least?
Yep.
The last Braves pitcher with 20 wins, Russ Ortiz. And that's going back, what, 15 plus
long time.
years? So
when you told me that earlier today, I was like, I would have guessed Russ Ortiz.
No, Kevin.
If you gave me 3 days.
No, Kevin, we shouldn't be, because when we said who has the longest hit streak, I would have never thought Dan Uggla. And it is. That just shows you that we get caught up in the big names. And I know the legacy of the Braves is always going to be something that you can like, hold your hat on, because it's so many names. But legacy is carved out every single game you play. And this Braves team is realizing, look, we don't want to just be the defending World Series champs. We know how hard it is to defend the crown. But what they've done this season, when they was 10.5 back with them pesky Mets, we were like, oh, and Kevin was like, man, just get a game. Just control what you can control. And then the month of June happened. And people was like, oh, my God. Like, you see what they just did. Then July happened. And mind you, not even though he's balling now, Ronald Acuna was not playing his best, and they were still getting it done. And then you get to talk about the new guys. You talk about the troublemakers. And I just think that what you see with the Braves is, I don't know if we'll ever see them play their best. Have they played their best game? We don't know. But if the Braves go out there and just beat themselves, they're going to be hard to beat. And the Mets know that. The Mets are still the little brothers in New York. That has been proven again. I mean, with the Subway Series or whatever you want to call it. But the Braves are controlling their own stuff. And like we said, Kevin, BJ, you said they're supposed to dominate Pittsburgh, and that's what they've done.
Well, some may say, look, it's the Pirates. And I know there were a lot of people today saying, hey, man, the Pirates are not good. The Pirates are not a good baseball team. But what you have to do is beat teams you're better than. You have to beat teams you're better than. And, Kevin, I told you at the beginning of the series, Ben, we were talking about it. I didn't think 2 out of 3 was going to be enough. When you're playing the Pirates, who, Kevin, you have said, a lot of people have said is kind of like a 4A team. I mean, you have got to find a way to sweep. And they were able to do that. It's 1.5 now. The Braves don't play tomorrow. The Mets do. So if the Mets win, the lead is back to 2 in the East. But you had to sweep the Mets, or you had to sweep the Pirates. You did. You have big time momentum heading into a big series. You play at St. Louis this weekend. The Cardinals are leading the NL Central, right?
Yep.
So you're talking about more challenging games ahead. But right now, if you want to go back to losing 4 or 5 in New York, right? I thought that was it. I thought that was it in the East. I really did. And to bounce back the way they have against the Mets, against Houston, and then maintain that same success rate against, what could have been a letdown opportunity against the Pirates. I think it's very impressive. So I think the Mets should be worried. I think the Braves should have a lot of confidence and momentum. I think the Braves are in a great spot.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, BJ. We're getting comments from YouTube because Ben doesn't have his light for the webcam.
I'm trying to
so somebody said, and Ben, look at your screen name now.
Yeah,
somebody said, change Ben's name to John Cena because I can't see him.
Listen, I will work on the light situation in the break, but I appreciate. Listen, at the end of the day, you can hear my voice. This is what radio was supposed to be. Hear my voice, not see my face. I will do my best. We are working up these contraptions right now as we speak.
So that's why we were distracted. BJ was in the middle of a beautiful Braves take, and then all Ben and I was like, "Yeah, Ben, you just kind of disappeared into the background there."
I disappeared into the abyss.
So look, in all seriousness, look, a game and a half out. I said this from the beginning. Mets fans are crying like Mets fans do. Why? Because they're scared they're going to Met. It's a simple thing. And the whole point when Ben and I were talking is, hey, when you're 4 games out, just stay in the rearview mirror. Let them know you're here. Hey, we're right here. Hey, how you doing? And put the pressure on. Go. Okay, you want to talk about weak schedule? Go beat the Rockies. Right?
Okay, but also, if you're complaining about the Braves having a weak schedule, they just took 2 out of 3 from Houston.
But this is why this argument is so stupid for Mets fans, is everybody plays in the National League East the same schedule. Like the Mets played the Pirates.
Yeah,
the Mets play,
right.
They play the same schedule. What are you talking about? Why do you guys always get the easy? You literally play the same teams.
No excuses. If the Braves had a 10.5 game lead against the Mets and everything was going, if the Mets are catching the Braves like the Braves are catching the Mets, you wouldn't even want to listen to the Braves media. People will be going crazy. No, Mets, you're not used to being in this position, and no one said it was. We didn't say when you were going to Met. It might take you the whole season to do it. But I don't want to hear about complaining about who you're playing up against. As you mentioned, Kevin, no, they play the same people. They play them at different times, but it's the same schedule. We don't want to hear it. The Mets got DeGrom. The Mets got Scherzer. It's not mattering right now. They're still little brothers in New York, and the Braves are coming.
Well, and you're talking about players with momentum. I know we've talked about the troublemakers. You've talked about Acuna. You've talked about Strider. We've talked about Wright. How about Matt Olson? Hit a grand slam today and apparently hit it into the river.
Yeah, hit one into the
river.
First Brave to hit one into the river there in Pittsburgh. And I think just like the 24th or maybe 45th person to do it ever. I mean, that was a mash. And BJ, you and I were laughing. Like, the Pirates are so bad. Like, they are so bad. Like, O'Neal Cruz is going to be a great player. Brian Hayes, his dad was a big-time major leaguer, Charlie Hayes. They have some good draft picks that they just, drafted going to be a minute. But literally, your starting pitcher went 3 2/3 innings, 7 runs scored, and only 2 were his fault. Because you gave us some here. Then you bring in a guy specifically to try to get out of a bases loaded situation. First pitch, you plunk Austin Riley.
No.
Then you bring in a guy specifically to face Matt Olson, Jack. So it's like you can't help but laugh at the Pirates. They are bad. And if I was a Pirate fan, if you can't laugh at yourself, what can you do? Because it's a long season. And the Pirates are an example of, hey, you got an owner. He's cashing plenty of checks. You got a beautiful ballpark. Maybe one of the best in major leagues. Look at the views, man. Bucket list stadium for me to go to PNC Park. Owner does not give a rip if you are any good or not. Cashing those TV checks, putting it in his back pocket, barely spending any money. And I'm
sorry. Didn't you say today, even though Matt Olson had a grand slam into the river, that the hardest hit baseball ever was hit today in the statistical era or StatCast era by a Pirates player?
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz, 6'7" shortstop, by the way. He has played 54 games for the Pirates. He has the hardest clock ball thrown by an infielder in the StatCast era at 97 miles an hour. And he has the hardest hit baseball recorded in all of Major League Baseball ever by the StatCast at 122.6. He's played 54 games. I mean, dude is amazing.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
I feel sorry.
Was a single today, right?
Yeah, and I was a single. I feel sorry for Pittsburgh because you look at that cat and you go, man, this dude's a freak.
Exactly.
Yeah, no way you're staying in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so you get stars like that and you're like, oh, he's not staying. So you hope Pittsburgh makes a move to try, because again, I think Pittsburgh's a good baseball town. When they're good, team fans will show up. I think in today's age, it's easy to lob on fans and say, hey, you're a bad sports town. You're a bad sports town. No, our team sucks, and I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars to go watch them lose and lose a lot. Right? I think that's the problem. Like, hey, if I'm a Pirates fan, I love the Pirates. Do I want to go down there and watch that team get beat 14-2 a lot? No, I don't. And I think fan bases, with the rising cost of going to a game and everything, college football. Hey, man, why do teams? You guys don't show up? Yeah, the team's 2-10. I'm not spending money to go watch to go pay for watch that. I think that's just. I feel bad for Pittsburgh because I think it's a good baseball town, but man,
it was
Braves,
not
Braves shellacked them, and it was like, as somebody said, it was like watching a major league team play a double-A team, and that's not fun for anybody at the end of the day. I mean, it's funny.
The Cardinals coming up, but 1.5 out. This is what I wanted to ask, because I think it's amazing to see the Braves go through these streaks, right? Where you win 12 or whatever it was. Was it 13, 14, or you win 16 out of 18? I think you're 8-2 in your last 10. Is that sustainable? How realistic is it to keep playing this well? Where, you guys know how I see it. I'm like, the losses are going to come. Like they're going to come, and they keep finding a way. The Mets, the Astros, maybe a little bit of a trap series with St. Louis coming up, and the Cardinals. Do you overlook Pittsburgh a little bit and maybe drop one there? And that can hurt you. I mean, this division could come down to one game. You sweep. Is this maintainable?
Yes, BJ, because it goes back to what I said about the month of June. I mean, we were sitting there saying, Kevin was like, look, if they're ever going to have a shot to be able to even put some, catch those Mets, they're going to have to start, winning some series. No one saw them They lost 2 games in the month of June or something like that. And then you start saying, okay, can they carry over into July? That's before you start adding guys. I don't even know. Wait a minute. I don't even know if Michael Harris was around when they was doing what they was doing in June. Then here comes Grissom. Then you're talking about Grossman. Then you start talking about the fact that this Braves team understands that, look, we got to go out there and be ourselves. Not play our best. Just be ourselves. A lot of guys that can hurt you, because a guy that we're not talking about the most, Austin Riley, is a grown man. And if you make a mistake, how do I know? They hit him to get the man. Man, like, I got you. I mean, I got you. They're like, it's just
I hit him on purpose without swinging.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's amazing. Look, and I think this is, if you're going to have a concern, BJ, and I think this is one I would say you would be rightfully so to have. My concern for the Braves right now would be, does Kyle Wright just run slap headfirst into a wall? And I don't mean this in like literally, but I mean, he's having his best season ever. This is really the first time he's pitched high leverage games all season long for the Braves. Can he keep it up for 2 more months? And the same can be said for Michael Harris, Vaughn Grissom, Spencer Strider. 3 guys who have come out and played really, really well. How do you keep them from running into that wall? You say, well, they're major leaguers. They're young. Minor leagues, you play 140 games. Major league, or 120, I think. Major leagues, you play 162. That's a lot more games you got to push through at a high level to try to go out there and continue to compete. Spencer Strider is going to blow way past.
Would you schedule some days off?
I think you have to. I mean, as good as Spencer Strider is, I think you have to give him some time, especially if, depending on how it plays out. If you pull ahead of the Mets, I think you maybe keep going, try to get some separation. If you know you're solidly at this point probably going to be in the playoffs because you are so far up into the wild card standings. I think you were like +8, +9 into just first place. That's not +9 over being out. That is +9 over second wild card team. So you are way up there in the wild card standings right now. So you feel pretty good. You're going to make the playoffs. I think if it comes down to it and the Mets pull away or you take the lead and get some space, I think you maybe think about resting him and try to at least make sure maybe he can be as fresh as possible coming down the stretch. So I think the Braves are in good shape, though. A game and a half, you got all Mets Nation freaked out and worried about it. We got more to come here. It is 3 and Out. Big announcement coming up when we return. Also, Kyle Glazer and Kelly Quinlan going to join us in the final hour. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out, here on this Wednesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Kyle Glazer, MLB writer for Baseball America. He will join us coming up at the top of the final hour. Also, Kelly Quinlan, Jackets Online, will join us in the final hour with a tough schedule coming up for Jeff Collins. We'll break that down with Kelly Quinlan. But did have some news. Some of you may know out there, some news to pass along regarding the show. But just the way business goes, BJ and Ben. But our radio stations that we work for are in the process, I guess, of being sold. And that being said, come the end of the month, there will be no more 3 and Out. So we have a week left to go of the show. I will say for folks listening, I mean, in this business, sometimes you don't even get to do that. So we've been doing this thing for 9 years. Well, BJ and I have been doing this for 18 years together, but been in the last, 5 or 6, I think 9 years total of 3 and Out that we've been doing that. But next Wednesday, we will have the last 3 and Out. And so it's been fun doing it. We'll continue to talk about it, share your thoughts with us and more, but wanted to share that with you here before we step aside. Final hour coming up next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back. Final hour of 3 and Out here on this Wednesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, thanks for making us a part of your day. We'll hear from Kelly Quinlan, Jackets Online, coming up in just a little bit. But the Braves win again today. The Braves never lose, right? That's the meme that is out there. And joining us here from Baseball America, Kyle Glaser stepping in here on 3 and Out. Kyle, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. You look at this Braves team. They are doing it with youth. Spencer Strider, Michael Harris, Vaughn Grissom. They are doing it with veterans, Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna is playing well. How do you see this Atlanta Braves team coming down the stretch, a game and a half behind the Mets? Is this a team that's starting to peak into form, or do you worry about some of the youth running out of steam the way they're playing right now?
I think it's hard to pick against them. I mean, you look at it, since July 1st, the Braves are 33-15. That's the second best record in baseball behind only the Dodgers. And they've shown no signs of slowing up. Obviously, they've lost a few games here or there. That series against the Mets in New York didn't go the way I think some fans hoped it would. But, on the whole, they've done a pretty good job. Or, excuse me, their series in Atlanta, I should say. It didn't go the way some fans hoped it would. But on the whole, this is a really, really talented team that's firmly in the playoff race, and I see no reason to believe that they're going to fall off.
In terms of the regular season, is this team better than it was last year? I know in the postseason got super hot, won the World Series, but is this a better team right now than Atlanta was this time last year?
At this time last year, they were the hottest team in baseball. They had really turned it on in August. So I think they're at least equivalent. I mean, again, this is a really, really good team that has a lot of talent. Obviously, not having Freddie Freeman, I think it's hard to say they're a better team. But on the flip side, they have Ronald Acuna back, and that's a big boost. And look, Spencer Strider's been a huge addition to the rotation. That was something at points last year that looked a little sketchy. The bullpen's every bit as good as last year. So at the very least, they're as good as last year's team at this point, and there's an argument to be made they are better.
Cal, when you think about this team and their ability to just, deal with distractions, I mean, Ozzie Albies, still coming back, dealing with his injury situation. Marcelo Zuna dealing with his, off the field stuff. These guys find a way in the midst of injuries or off the field distractions, still find a way to go out there and keep the main thing with, as Kevin and BJ mentioned, Michael Harris and Grissom, those guys playing with, I understand they're rookies, but not playing like rookies.
Look, I mean, the best teams have setbacks and don't miss a beat. Every single team is going to have players get hurt or something unexpected happen. It's the teams that have enough talent top to bottom in the organization to withstand it that are the great teams. We talked about the Dodgers' depth. I mean, there was a point earlier this year where things were not looking so great for the Braves, and you bring up Michael Harris and Spencer Strider. Those are two really, really talented players who immediately electrify the team. You layer it on with Vaughn Grissom later in the year. I mean, this is what good organizations do and good teams do. And the Braves are absolutely a great organization and a great team. They've shown that by virtue of the fact they won the World Series last year or are on pace for their fifth straight playoff appearance.
Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, joining us here on 3 and Out. And you look around baseball right now, I mean, the races, this is the kind of excitement I think baseball would like to have, right? You're seeing Baltimore having a resurgence. How much do you think we can continue to see of this with expanded playoffs, with allegedly the CBA encouraging teams to try to do a little bit more to go out and compete?
Yeah, I mean, look, adding a sixth playoff spot in each league kind of lowered the bar for, okay, this is how many wins it's going to take to make the playoffs. In the past, that number was 89. Now it's 87. So, yeah, I mean, just by virtue of the fact there's an additional spot, it's going to have more teams in the mix later into the season, and certainly provides some excitement and also provides a reward for the team to finish with the top two records in their respective leagues, which is something you definitely want to incentivize. So, so far it's been exciting, and I know we're all looking forward to what should be a photo finish here. A couple division races are still up for grabs, and also the wild card races are pretty tight in both leagues.
And you talk about those division races, Braves and Mets. Braves now, 1.5 behind New York. I mean, how do you see this? I know they'll play again, obviously, but how do you see Atlanta and New York vying for the NL East?
I mean, it's going to be tight the whole way. I see no reason to believe the Braves are going to fall off. I see no reason to believe the Mets are going to fall off like they did last year, barring catastrophic injuries for either team. But look, I mean, this is going to be a fight to the finish, and I know that second to last series of the year for both teams, those 3 games, Mets and Braves in Atlanta, from September 30th through October 2nd. I mean, that could be for the division, and it wouldn't surprise me if it is.
Cal, you mentioned earlier that good teams find a way to deal with injuries, deal with distractions, but the culture of the Braves seems to be one of the best, if not the best, in the bigs when you look at guys like, these young guys being able to come in and play well, but to keep that momentum and what they did in the month of June and July and carrying it over into August, speak to the culture of what this Braves team has.
I think a lot of it just comes down from the confidence of winning. These guys have been through the ringer now. Again, they won their first division title, this group, and in 2018, as young as Acuna and Albies and some of these guys are, they've been there for all of it. I mean, this is a battle-tested group that, went through the postseason last year all the way to the World Series and has that grit and that resilience. They know what it takes to win and stay strong over a full 162 and beyond. And young guys are able to transition seamlessly into that. It just comes from experience, and they have it in spades.
Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Kyle, as we come down the stretch, is there a team that's on the outside looking in that you think if they get into playoffs might be dangerous out of that wild card spot?
Oof. I don't know if there's a team right now that's on the outside looking in, I'd say is overly dangerous. I don't think Baltimore, if they make it, would be overly dangerous. Milwaukee, they have a really good pitching staff. I don't think they have the offense to be overly dangerous. I mean, as it stands right now, I do think the 6 best teams in each league currently hold the playoff spots. A potential sleeper is the Twins. They have some big bats, could do some damage. Maybe the White Sox if they can get out of their own way and stay healthy. But I think for the most part, right now, as it stands, the 6 best teams are in the 6 spots in each respective league.
Are the Dodgers the clear favorite to win the World Series, or how close are, the Braves, the Astros, the Mets, some of these other teams? Who do you think are the top contenders, and how close are they as we look ahead to a potential World Series champion?
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are the clear-cut favorite. I mean, this is a team that has scored they have a run differential 100 runs greater than any other team in baseball. They have the best record in baseball by a full, 6 or 7 games. I mean, this is just an elite, dynamic team that's playing its best baseball. But it's going to come down to injuries. We saw last year they were down to 3 healthy starters by the time they played the Braves in the NLCS. The Braves were able to take advantage. So if the Dodgers are fully healthy, I think they're absolutely the team to beat. But I will say, look, Astros, the Yankees, the Mets, the Braves are all really, really talented. And if the Dodgers overthink their pitching like they tend to do in the postseason, or if they, suffer some bad injury luck down the stretch, the other teams are talented enough to take advantage.
Is this Braves starting pitching as well as the bullpen ready to take a starring role like they was able to do this time last year once they get into the playoffs?
Again, I see no reason why they wouldn't be. Obviously Ian Anderson has not performed, the way that the Braves and their fans might have hoped for this year. And obviously he was a big part of their success last year. But again, you look at, everything this group has done this year. You look at the names in that bullpen. You look at, at the very least, the front of the rotation. You saw Max Fried, Kyle Wright's had the breakout year. Probably Morton's been better recently. Spencer Strider, that's a really good top 4. Now you added, Kenley Jansen's been really effective, looks like the best version of himself at times, to go with all the other great relievers they have there. I see, again, no reason to suggest that they're not ready.
Kyle Glaser joining us here on 3 and Out. And Kyle, finally, as you look at it, where's the game of baseball? I know from the outside, people like to talk down the game, but we've seen 2-hour and 15-minute games, 2-hour and 20-minute games. You're seeing a host of young players, O'Neal Cruz, Michael Harris, and others come into the big leagues at the same time. You've got a guy doing something that hasn't been done since Babe Ruth, and you've got greats of the game in St. Louis like Albert Pujols still doing amazing things, a quest for 700 home runs. I mean, where is the game in your opinion? As much as people talk it down, you're seeing the hardest hit ball that ever been recorded was done today. I mean, how do you see this translating to people to say, look, the game may be on the field, unless you're just adamant about strikeouts, home run, in good shape in terms of the amount of talent that is out there in the game right now?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of talent on the field is as great as it's ever been. There's no question about that. Look, there's some aesthetic things that people want to see different within the game of baseball. And I think that's fair just in terms of average times of games, how much action is taking place. But in terms of the sheer talent on the field, I mean, this is a golden era for baseball. And I do think people recognize that. And both things can be true at the same time, that there's a lot of incredible players on the field, but there's also some things that could be tweaked to make it a better entertainment product for the long term.
And I think some of those are going to happen. The shift going away next year, and more. Kyle Glaser, Baseball America, our guest. Kyle, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Kyle Glaser joining us, Baseball America. And again, you come down the stretch of the season here almost at the end of August. September, it's, that's winning time if you're trying to put a division away or what have you. To me, a lot of greats. I mean, in this game, the Dodgers are good. The Mets are good. The Yankees, despite their struggles, have been good. You're seeing competitive races. Now, do you have teams like the Pirates and the Rockies who are not good? Yes, but you also have competitive races in a lot of divisions out there. I mean, the American League East has for their teams neck and neck. So I do think it's not as simple as say, oh, well, a couple years ago, I think that was wrong. Well, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers. They spend all the money, and that's what I don't think you're quite there. You're seeing some more teams make that investment on the field. The Braves, even the Marlins have gone out and spent money and have improved their product, even though they're in a tough division. I think the game is in good shape. The shift going away, I think, helps the game. Should help provide a little more offense. We shall see. I think I'm not a fan of the pitch clock, but I do think guys coming out of the minor leagues with a pitch clock will pitch faster. And we've seen 2 hour, 15 minutes games like we used to see with the Greg Maddoxes and others pitch. So that stuff is possible. And I think the talent level, as I mentioned to him at the end, I mean, it's unbelievable. Not only the all-time talent that's getting ready to phase out, but the guys who are stepping into the league are unbelievable. They're stepping in and having huge success right away.
Absolutely. And it's awesome to see. It's fun to see. You mentioned great players, great teams like the Atlanta Braves. I wanted to ask y'all what I asked Kyle. You have the defending World Series champions. Do the Braves right now seem like they're a better team? I know it's hard to evaluate, given what happened in the postseason, but do you feel like the Braves could be a better team this year than they were last year?
I mean, you think so? I mean, I think they're a more confident team. I think what they proved last year, BJ, is the fact that we can go out there and win the World Series without Ronald Acuna Jr. That's not the plan moving forward. That's not your recipe for success. But the Braves are a confident bunch, and they handle and they don't look past anybody. We got to catch the Mets before we do anything else. Yes, you want to win the division because when you think about our Isaac, when you think about Dez, when you think about Ronald Acuna, all these guys know is winning the division last 4 years in a row. You want to keep that momentum going, but it's about getting in what you do when you get in. But do I think they're a better team? Maybe. More confident team? Definitely at this point.
We got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll talk a little college football. Kelly Quinlan will join us. Jackets Online. We'll look at the on-the-field product for Georgia Tech. Also, a lot of people think the ACC might look a lot different depending on how some of the dominoes fall there in college football. He will join us next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. This 3 and Out countdown to college football is getting closer and closer. We'll have games coming up on Saturday to start week 0. Georgia Tech going to be on Labor Day night against Clemson to get things started. Big year for Jeff Collins. And joining us here from jacketsonline.com, Kelly Quinlan joins us here on 3 and Out. Kelly, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. Obviously, the schedule is tough. You've got Clemson in week number 1. Where is this football team right now in terms of offense? New guy Chip Long. How have they looked adjusting to the new system?
You know, it's been surprisingly crisp. I think they really benefited from the new rule where they got 2 hours a week to do OTAs in the off season. And Jeff Sims looks like a different quarterback. He's really benefited from Chris Winkie as his quarterback coach and Chip Long, the new OC, being really demanding and kind of tailoring the offense skill set. That was one thing Chip Long's talked a lot about in the lead up to the season, and Chris Winkie, is that they're trying to create situations for Jeff to be successful versus trying to put a square peg in a round hole like the previous offensive coordinator did. So, you know, all in all, it's been a pretty good preseason for Georgia Tech. They're relatively healthy, and I think they showed the world what they could do if they played disciplined football last year at Clemson. Probably should have won that game. So I think they're optimistic about their chances, going into week 1. It'll just be interesting to see what happens when they play someone else.
Kelly, overall, what are the expectations? I mean, is there a set number of wins? Is it Georgia Tech needs to make a bowl game? How will this program measure progress this fall? And I guess to that end, what's the hot seat level like for Jeff Collins?
I mean, the seat's pretty warm. To me, I think they need to go bowling to be sure. You need to put the doubt out of people's minds, right? Like that this is, and you double your win total from the last couple of years. It'd be a very clear step forward, and I think that's something they could sell on the recruiting trail, and it would be good for the program. Realistically, 5 might do it if they look. It depends on how they look in some of the losses too. You can't. They lost the last 2 games of the season 100-0 to Notre Dame and Georgia. Like, you can't have a repeat of that at the end of the season either. So, to me, the seats, the hottest it's been since I've covered Georgia Tech for any coach, and that's been 13 years now. It'll be interesting to see how Jeff, Collins responds to this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the thing that people forget is the league is bad. Just generally speaking, it's not very good. Hasn't been very good the last few years. And last year they were 12 plays away from 7 wins, to be perfectly honest with you. If they can swing it half of those plays, they go bowling. So, me, I think that's, the margin's probably still about the same.
And Kelly, you mentioned, when you got a guy like Chris Winkie helping out a guy like Sims, you understand he's going to hopefully take the next step. But, you lose a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs to the transfer portal. How much is the running game, or how crucial is the running game going to be this year to help a guy like Sims kind of keep him balanced out there?
Yeah, the interesting thing about they lost Jordan Mason, who's with the 49ers now. Graduated, moved on to the NFL. You lose Gibbs, who's up for the Doak Walker. Probably he's in I think the top 15 in the Heisman odds right now, Alabama. And then you gain Dylan McDuffie, who's a 1,000-yard rusher at Buffalo, and Hassan Hall is an Atlanta kid that played quite a bit of football at Louisville for the last few years. Dante Smith was one of the most effective running backs per snap the last couple of years. He's, a really good running back. Is he going to break off those 70-yard touchdowns like Jahmyr Gibbs? Probably not, but he's explosive. He's, nearly as fast, not quite as quick or twitchy as Gibbs was. But I think between him, Hassan Hall's a big play guy, and Dylan McDuffie is more of a kind of hammer and nail like Jordan Mason. I think they have 3 really quality backs. Their running back room was the best in the ACC, I thought, last year. And it's, maybe second best this year. I still think they're loaded, and I think they'll surprise some people with how those guys perform if the offensive line does their job.
Kelly Quinlan joining us here on 3 Now on the defensive side of the ball. Kelly, that was where Jeff Collins is supposed to have his specialization, the defensive backs, kind of his area of expertise. They were really poor last year. Lost, I think, all of those guys to moving on to graduation. Where do they look defensively? Where are they going to be strongest? Where can they lean on the defensive side of the ball right now?
So probably the 2 most consistent players last year in the defense or the two corners, Miles Sims and Zamari Walton, and they all sort of split reps with Trey Swilling, who's left now. Those two guys are very solid. Jalen King takes over at the free safety spot. He's a really smart football player who's excelling in what they're doing. I feel a lot better about where their secondary is at now. They look like they're on the same page, which was a really big issue in the past. There's actually more competition there. To me, where the difference I think will be made is up front. They finally have experience. They took over the first year they got here and had basically no returning depth at all. They had one player who played under Paul Johnson, and they've been slowly kind of trying to build that depth back up. And now, if you look across the defensive line, it's all guys, third-year player. Daquan Ducey is like from y'all's neck of the woods. He's really stepped up at defensive tackle. He's in his fourth year now. Micaiah Scott, a kid they got from South Carolina, has really stepped up at D-tackle. But the big X factor there is a kid named Keon White, who they got from Old Dominion. Was supposed to be he was an NFL prospect, and he ended up hurting himself and hurting his leg and basically missing almost the entire season last year. He's a dynamic pass rusher, probably the best defensive end they've had in a while, just from pure power and setting the edge. Yeah, I think he's a game changer, and then they have a really dynamic competition out that rush end spot too. So there was a little bit of addition from subtraction with some of the guys who left in the portal on defense as well, in my opinion.
How important is forcing turnovers going to be for this defense? I know Georgia Tech didn't do that consistently a lot last year.
No, I mean, they had 0 interceptions by corners, which is almost impossible to do. They had 1 interception against an FBS opponent, Wanya Thomas, the safety guy, to win the Duke game. Yeah, that's just not acceptable. Now they forced some fumbles and did things like that. The first couple of years, they were much better at takeaways. The big thing that Jeff Collins has been preaching and Andrew Thacker, the defensive coordinators, they're going to be more aggressive. And I think that a lot of that comes down to the fact they actually believe in what Chip Long's doing offensively. To be honest with you, I think that was an issue with the past OC. The team didn't believe in what he was doing, and therefore it impacted the entire defense as well, because they felt like they had to be perfect. And when you have to be perfect, you can't do that in football. You just have to play, right? And so I think they'll be better on that side of the ball. They're in the top 70 defensively and top 70 offensively. They're going to be a bowl team. That's sort of the margin's not that great, right? They've been in the bottom on both offense and defense the last 2 years. I think that if you get in that middle ground and in the ACC, you can go bowling and everyone lives on to another day, and you see what Jeff Collins can do. I think now he actually has a staff that makes sense. That's a P5 staff and has the pieces he needs. It's just they got to produce quickly because they've burned up all their goodwill.
And Kelly, as we know, when it comes to football, I mean, it comes down to schemes and matchups. And I don't think you're going to get a bigger matchup than E.J. Jenkins. Big time with tight ends, receiver coming over from South Carolina, 6'7", 243 pounds. How has he looked in the fall, and are they going to find a way to kind of create some mismatches for him this season?
Yeah, he's pushing for a starting job at receiver. The way that Chip Long uses guys, you can line him up in different ways. They'll go heavy on one side, and you can line him up sort of almost like a tight end in the slot. They've been really creative with how they want to use EJ, and I think that he's going to be a guy that really changes some matchups, especially in the red zone where they've had a lot of issues scoring the football. Chip Long brings that to the table as being an innovative guy in the red zone, a guy that's very consistent scoring the ball. And I think EJ is a big part of that. He's 6'7", man. You can throw a jump ball, you can throw the fade, you can do all kinds of different things with him. You can drag him over the middle, just have him jump up and get the ball. So I think that as long as EJ is catching the football, I think they're in really good shape with him.
Kelly Quinlan joining us here on 3 and Out. And Kelly, look, obviously they open with Clemson, but how does Georgia Tech stack up with the, I guess, middle of the pack ACC, where you mentioned they had some close games they couldn't pull out in the league last year? Are they close to turning some of those in their favor? We just don't know at this point, given the roster turnover.
I mean, when I look at it, the problem for them is their toughest games are in terms of conference play are right up front. They play Clemson and then at Pitt week 5. Both those teams are ranked. And then once you get outside of that, you're playing Duke, who's going to be by pretty much every measure probably maybe a winless team or a 1-win or 2-win team. Virginia, that's in a total rebuild. You get Florida State, who maybe even in a lame duck coach situation there, depending on how the start of their season goes. Certainly a beatable team at Florida State. They go to Blacksburg, again, a team in rebuild mode. And then they end the season with Miami and North Carolina in terms of ACC play. So if they can get, really the trick for Jeff Collins is he needs 2 wins in the first 5 games. They play Western Carolina, this should be a dub. They need to either beat Ole Miss, UCF, or Pitt. And I think if you do that, they can win in the middle part of their schedule and get some momentum going that carries them to a bowl game. It's a really hard schedule. I mean, playing Ole Miss, week 3 and Bobby Dodd, and then playing at Central Florida is just crazy to me. When you play Georgia every year too, that's got to stop if they want these coaches to be successful at Georgia Tech. You can't schedule that. That's a tough schedule for Ohio State or Alabama or whatever. Like, they would not want that as their non-conference schedule either. So I think they need to be trying to figure that out in the future. Those are all games that got punted back because of different reasons to the season, but it's putting Jeff Collins in a bind and the program in a bind as well.
Kelly, finally looking ahead, we're still talking about conference realignment. There's all kind of, movement that's already happened that might happen. And there's been a lot of talk, rumors about the ACC. Is the ACC looking to add? Could the Big Ten be interested in Georgia Tech, the SEC? I mean, where do you think, looking down the road at conference realignment, the ACC sits, and where does Georgia Tech sit in all this?
So ultimately, everything kind of lies with the Big Ten, I think, and what they decide to do and how big they want to go. If they go to 24, they're clearly they have a plot to go to 20. I think it makes more sense for them to actually go to 24. If you go to 24, I think you take the Georgia Tech, Carolina, Miami piece of that, and then some West Coast teams, and you have a nice sort of diverse league where you can have sort of some East, Central, and West pods. Ultimately with the ACC, they've got to come up with something to make more money, and whatever that is, I don't know. I don't know if that is more of a adding schools, adding a Stanford, Oregon, Washington piece of it, having a West Coast ACC thing. I think that's really tough to do. Do you add Kansas and go push the basketball level up more? I don't know. They really, to me, I think the ACC's move here, though, is they need to put pressure on ESPN because ESPN needs programming. They just lost all that Big Ten programming. They're possibly going to lose what's of value in the Pac-12 or what's left of the Big 12. So depending on what these TV deals are. So I think the best move is for the ACC to try to position themselves as the third league. If they do that, that might simmer down the Florida State and Clemson and Miami, who are kind of the most concerned parties about the state of the ACC. But to me, I think it's so hard because the numbers are just so vastly different and what the top 2 leagues are making. And maybe they break off and maybe that's where this all ends up. And we end up with, sort of a situation like soccer in Europe where you have a Premier League and then you have teams in the middle and then you have sort of what are like your G5s. And I don't know. I don't know what this is going to do, but we're sort of at an inflection point because the money's getting insane right now that these conferences are getting, and it's 20% of the conferences, teams and conferences. So I think they got to do something.
Kelly Quinlan, Jackets Online, our guest here on 3 and Out. Kelly, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
No problem, guys.
Kelly Quinlan joining us here in Labor Day night. Georgia Tech gets Clemson. Unenviable start for them, but maybe a chance to make a statement if they pull it out. They played Clemson literally right down to the wire a season ago. Maybe a chance in week 1 to do what now seems like the unthinkable in about 10 days or so. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Did y'all see the Tiger and Rory League?
Yep.
It's golf with a twist, right?
It's golf remixed.
Virtual.
Virtual golf. So, like, basically, they're taking advantage of simulator technology.
Yep.
They're going to tee off on simulators, and when they get around the green, are going to chip and putt in front of an arena-style audience and have, 15 matches?
Yep. 3-on-3.
3-on-3, and try to put it in prime time. I'm the wrong demographic, so I will withhold my judgment. No, I am. No,
More fan
no.
engagement. It's
I
digital.
will withhold my judgment.
So I'm going to ask this. If Rory and Tiger names were, I don't know, Andrew Jones and, Tom Glavine, and they were doing a virtual baseball, would Kevin do it? Remember?
I don't think so.
Because it's
talking
tech.
about
It's
this.
tech.
It's not the same as watching them do it.
Everybody in here watches other people play video games, right? So if you watch other people play video games,
Yeah.
you're not going to watch Rory and
Of
Tiger
course.
play virtual golf.
BJ, it's like when we go to a certain store, right? And we go over there to the golf section. The people say, hey, man, y'all need some help. No, we just going to tee it up off the little thing and keep hitting on the first. Wham, wham. Like you just sit there and do it and do it and do it and do it. And then you realize, I'm not going to buy anything.
I understand that. Like, I'm not watching 18 holes of that.
Well,
like, I will for like a couple of, but I'm not watching
That's smart.
Tiger hitting to a screen.
But it's
And then,
dynamic.
I guess.
It's multimedia,
You remember,
engaging, social media. All that stuff.
Remember when we went to the College Football Hall of Fame and we upstairs?
Yes.
There's a certain Kevin that had this virtual reality stuff. The only reason why we left because they kicked us the hell out.
No, but I was doing it. I don't want to watch 18 holes of Tiger.
I'm saying there's going to be opportunities for engagement and all like that. I mean,
they're going to let me hit.
I think it's interesting.
I'm
all,
saying.
all I'm saying is I think it's interesting.
It is no. It's smart too because the thing is everything is going digital, everything is going tech, everything is going virtual. Reality and all these kind of, and Tiger Woods is saying, look, I want to be a part of the way. Mind you, it don't come out till 2024. I mean, that's what we make announcements now.
I'm not against it as an idea. I admit, BJ, that I'm not the demo for this. They're trying to attract younger people.
Yep.
Right. Everybody wants the younger crowd who've grown up on technology. They want that infused with their sports. I get it. I'm saying, as me, middle-aged guy, I don't think I'm tuning in to watch 15 events of that. I might watch the first one. I might watch 5 holes.
I don't think anybody watches it. I mean, most
people
don't watch everything of everything.
But my point is, and I think as you're trying to bring people into golf, it's interesting. My point, I guess, to that is, when are you going to do this? Because are you going to put these in prime time between September and February?
Apparently it is going to be prime time.
Okay, I understand that. So when are you doing it? You going to put it in between? Are you going to do it at all between August and February?
I mean,
I'm asking. I mean, are you going to do this on a Tuesday night? Because Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, pretty filled up in the fall with something people really want to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm not, again, I'm not going to say it's going to fail. I'm saying, when are you going to do it? And how many people
but
are you going to attract to watch?
Let's just say because I, you could say spring, summer, whatever.
Yeah.
Early when I don't know.
Spring and summer is a long time.
Yeah. Let's just say to answer your question, it's in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll be the case.
No.
But if it was, like, could they not do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday and get
I'm sure they
a
could.
viewing audience? But I think like spring, summer.
Well, yeah, spring and summer.
Spring
and summer is a long time. I mean, when you think about how many months that is, and let's call it what it is. Tiger Woods, last time I checked, he don't really put his money towards things that ain't going.
I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm just saying for me, am I interested?
If I'm just saying, we're not the golf enthusiasts. If Ken Griffey Jr. comes out with a hitting virtual,
I get it. I don't want to watch Ken Griffey hit a ball to a screen and then watch it digitally sail out. No, I want to see Ken Griffey hit a real ball.
But it's going to look nice, though. You know what I mean? It's going to be visually amazing.
If Ken Griffey Jr. is sitting there somewhere virtually, he said, "Listen, today, man, we're going to be going to Coastal Georgia." Hey, Kevin, man, so what do you? And Kevin's like this. Usually I don't do it. And I'm like, listen, me and BJ gonna be in the background like, look at Kevin.
No, but you're describing a different experience. Me and Ken Griffey Jr. in the same room trading hacks off a tee into a screen. That's fun. Me sitting at home watching Ken Griffey Jr. take hacks into a screen. I don't want to do that.
Now I will say this too,
Why?
though,
Because I get to hang with Griff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's different.
And there's the thing. And who's to say?
If I get to rub elbows with Tiger, I might feel differently about it.
Well, who's to say that that's not how games end up becoming? Like, no matter how players say it, players like admiration of the fans. They say, "Oh, okay, yes, you do. Of course you do." Why you think? I mean, I just seen Tiger. Well, Tiger was. Well, he approved the commercial. He wasn't on the commercial. Rory kind of gave us this about to run out and, beat the hell out of somebody. Look, he didn't say anything, but they saying fan interaction is everything. Then you start talking about the virtual reality, you start talking about the tech. Tiger Woods is saying, look, man, I got the number one golf game out. Just like Madden is the number one football game out. Tiger Woods, PJ, it's the number. He said, all right, me and Rory going to do it. And we're going to see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? It's going to work.
And there's going to be teams. You're going to have competition. You're going to have excitement. You're going to have visual presentations, social media.
I was at the Black Sports Biz Symposium. They got the virtual reality. They had the augmented reality stuff too. That stuff is wild. That stuff is crazy. And the thing is, Tiger Woods is basically saying anybody that's trying to do what me and Rory doing, please sit down. And I know it's 2 years away. Partnering with the PGA, and I mean, obviously the PGA is loving Tiger right now. Tiger and Rory. They do. But
with the PGA Tour, we've had Rich and others say, look, they haven't been proactive. Is this being proactive in trying to come up with new, creative, innovative ideas?
Until the Live Tour tell Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson to do one. I'm just saying, it ain't. Listen, you don't have exclusive rights to doing these things. You just partner with the PGA, right? The USFL was just out, right? They didn't have no competition. Their competition will come next year with The Rock and the XFL. All I'm saying is they're putting out. It's going to be 2 years. 2 years from now. I mean, and obviously we gonna be there. I hope to God I don't have to cover it, but it's just one of those things to where I support it because I think it's. When it comes to Tiger Woods, how do my brand stay relevant? Not saying that he has to do anything. How does it? Man, I do something that appeal to a younger generation. I mean, one thing that keep you relevant, no matter what, is young people, right? And the ladies. If the ladies like it, as far as like a product that you have, you're gonna be relevant forever. And if young people like it, you're gonna be relevant. And how do you grow the game of golf? Get the two of the biggest faces in it to put a game together, put it out, on Twitter 2 years from now. I don't know how much, advertising they're gonna do between now and then. I think
that's a good point. Is think about this. I think they view this as a big possible deal, which is why they're promoting it 2 years in advance.
Of course.
You're gonna hype this up, promote it. Talk about all the matchups. Tiger and Roy for 2 years. Well, I think this has the chance to be very exciting and pretty interesting. Now, Kevin, I'm not saying it's gonna, every single golf fan is gonna watch every single match but I can appreciate the creativity.
I can too. That's all I'm saying. I couched the whole thing with. I'm not the demo for this. I get it.
What would Kevin Thomas be a demo for?
Handing me a pile of cash. I love that. I love that demo.
That demo. I will say this: when the Rock said we're gonna do the XFL, before we even know anything, we knew it's gonna be good. Why? Because of who he is. I ain't seen no teams yet. You ain't announced no coaches yet. I know because certain people reputation.
Let me say it this way. And again, everybody's kind of tried to do this. I like to watch guys go out and compete. I can know, hey, we're sitting here on the Masters, hole number 10. This is a difficult shot. Do I get that same feelings because I played Tiger Woods on Wii, the Masters editions? No, I want to see Tiger and Rory and all these guys hit shots, not say, man, he really got that one into the screen and away it goes. I don't get the elite shot making I get on the course, watching them do it on a visual thing, and then they're only going to hit real balls when they're up around the green and they chip and putt, apparently. So, again, you lose some of the shot making. It's the same reason I'm not a big fan of the NBA 2K League. I mean, that's guys playing video games. Are they good at it? Sure. Would I rather watch LeBron actually hit a shot, or would I rather see a guy and his avatar in the game hitting a bank shot from what looks to be 10 feet on my monitor? Again, that's me. I'm not the demo for it. I think you lose something in the skill level and what makes sports fun to watch, watching it virtually rather than seeing people actually do it.
But it's not
in front
supposed
of your
to replace the PGA Tour, right? It's
I understand
supposed to be another option.
I understand that. And I'm saying the option is not for Kevin. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, the gaming world is ridiculous. I mean, I forgot all about every NBA team has a, video game team coming up in there saying, hey, fellas, we got to play. We got to do better than we did yesterday. What are your thumbs?
Getting fired, and you didn't hit X fast enough. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. 3 and out. Braves a winner today over the Pirates. Get the sweep. They're off tomorrow. Then take on the St. Louis Cardinals coming up this weekend. And we had an announcement earlier in the show. If you missed it, we'll repeat it again, and we'll continue to talk about it, obviously, for the next week. But just cycle of business, the way things go, ownership change going on here at our stations. And basically, at the end of the day, our last show, we were told is going to be August 31st. So a week from today will be the last 3 and out, and we will not be on anymore after that. So we'll have a week to go. Again, just before we get into all of that, as a week to go, appreciate everybody listening. Again, I just want to say that now. I'll say it again, certainly as we go throughout next week. But we have been doing this with Ben for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
BJ and I have been doing
officially 5 years. Yeah.
BJ and I have been doing 3 and out for 9, and off and on, not necessarily, but in the same building a lot for 18 years. I've been doing this for almost 22 years. So had a lot of fun doing it. It's sad to see it come to an end. Everything has to, I guess. But we got basically a week left, and we'll try to honor the show we've done by doing it until it's time to not do it anymore. I guess that's the best I can say it, BJ.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and certainly appreciate everybody listening and taking part in the show. And we look forward to interacting with people over the last week and having a good time and talking you up to college football season, through college football season. Again, we have games week 0 this weekend, and then you're talking about getting ready for week 1. But it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, it's been a great opportunity, and looking forward to still doing some more shows with you guys.
Absolutely, man. Gigs like this don't come around often. I appreciate just the listeners. I appreciate you guys. And hey, man, this ain't, as my daddy would say, man, this is a see you later type moment. We'll see
Absolutely.
you guys down the line. And if you see us in public, hey, man, Kevin Thomas say, come up to him, give him a big old hug and a kiss.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You can say enjoy the show. Don't hug me. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, so we got a week to go. Our last show will be next Wednesday, and we'll share all those moments we can with you up until then. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 and out.